okay. We started just in time for everyone to hear me cough.
Excellent. See, I've got to try and... I can't type while I'm talking on... Like, I can't tweet while I'm talking. It's just impossible for my brain. There we go. That's such a long tweet.
That's what she said.
I mean, it probably was, wasn't it?
No.
Okay. I think I have the game volume at a point where they can hear all of us. Well, all of us? We're just two people. Okay. So just for reference, because I guess most people are going to probably be watching this on YouTube later. And only like 2 people will have tuned in at this point anyway, the stream. But hi to the 2 of you who have, and hello to you, Daniel.
Hello to you, Anders Bloom.
Thank you very much. So for those of you who are just joining, this is my friend Daniel, a friend of how long? I can't remember how long we've been friends.
It's like 10, 11 years, something stupid.
Something along like that, yes.
We're so old.
They're very old, from a time where there was no Half-Life 2, and we played Natural Section of the Half-Life 1 engine, and that's how we met. So, yeah, and we were obviously, those of you who already heard of Daniel will have heard of him, I think, through the GoFundMe that we were setting up for the cancer that's that's stupidly in your lungs.
That's in my everywhere.
In your everywhere, yeah. But I guess that's part of that we can sort of get to that, I guess. So yeah, we wanted to do a bit of a follow-up because the community raised at the time of speaking 10,322. 322, isn't that like a Dota meme? I think it is. Anyway, raised a lot of money to help support you through all of that, which is obviously very cool, and I think it certainly exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, mine too.
So that was super incredible. So we want to do a sort of a follow-up, to see, because people have been asking me quite a bit, what's going on and how are things. So how are things?
I mean, I'm trying to remember the timeline of when we started this compared with all the stuff that's happened recently. It was early March, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it must have been. That sounds reasonable. Yeah, so
I think before you did that, I had just had the because we found out that a tumor had grown in my brain as well, which was quite scary to hear. And I had this operation thing, radiation surgery, that's the word I was looking for, called gamma knife surgery, which is where they stick your head inside a big, like a big bowl, I guess, and they fire a bunch of lasers into it that all focus at a specific point, which kind of is designed to shrink the tumor, which I was taking quite well to for a few weeks, and then they found out that it grew again, so I had to have the treatment again a couple of weeks ago. But it all seems to be going sort of better now. The tumor's shrinking. I'm starting chemo again tomorrow, which I'm greatly looking forward to.
Yeah, and this is the sort of the more hardcore version, right? From the one that you were doing the first time, if I understood things correctly.
Yeah, I'm still trying to. I'm not familiar with dosages and drugs and stuff. It's kind of like a learning experience. But as I understand it, they're putting me on slightly stronger stuff now, and it's a more aggressive regimen as well. Right.
Yeah, because it's sort of a jungle to figure out like how it all works, and it all seems from what you're telling me and from what I know from other people as well. It seems to be so much sort of hit and miss. You try something and it either works or it doesn't, and then either way you're not really sure why, which is sort of discouraging. Like, I mean, do you think on that as being sometimes part of the I guess the painful thing of being in that situation is that no one seems to really know much of what's actually happening at any point?
Yeah, I mean, so, like, as we said, I've known you for a really long time, so you've known that I've had sort of health problems.
Yes. That's, I guess, sort of an understatement. Oh, did Skype just break up? I guess it did. Hold on. Hold on. Oh.
I guess like
there, I think. Can you hear me all right? All right. I think there was just like a bit of
I can hear you.
Skype thing. You cut off at a one time when it said I'd known you for a long time and you'd always had health problems.
Oh yeah. So you sorry, I don't know what happened there. So you've known I've always had health problems, and those health problems are sort of very boring by comparison. You know, I've had like severe asthma, which is controllable to some degree, and with asthma, you know, there are things that you can do to make sure that you know, you don't exacerbate the condition, and things to avoid, things not to do, things you can do that make it better. Whereas with cancer, it's basically, you know, strap in and enjoy the ride. So
Yes.
As you say, it does seem sometimes like they're excuse me, it does seem sometimes like they're kind of making it up as they go along.
GG.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we're back. My computer died.
Oh, that's unusual for you.
It just, blue screened. I don't know why. I think that's been like 6 months or something before that happened. Well, we'll keep going. We'll keep trying to make it work. I don't know why it happened. Is my microphone all right now?
Yeah, sounds fine.
All right, cool, perfect, excellent. Well, the stream should be back up and running again, so I think we're going to be fine.
Okay.
I blue screened around the time when you were saying what?
I said we have a mutual friend who's a doctor.
Right, yes.
And so whenever you hear these stories about the, you know, the great advancements in cancer and so on, one of the first things I do is ask him, and he'll basically tell me why it's wrong, why, you know, cancer is not just this kind of big entity. It's like it's thousands of different diseases and so on. So there's no cure for cancer as such.
Yeah.
Because it's so many different things. So yeah, it basically it does feel like they're making it up sometimes, you know, as they go along.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends from person to person, but for me, that would I would have a need to ask my doctor on a regular basis for to say, okay, well, what are the chances? What are the odds? Can you give me some numbers? Can you give me something? And it feels like a lot of the time that's just not possible, you know. I mean, or it would be how can we put it? It would be dishonest of them to try and do it, you know. If they would almost like give too much hope if they just said, yeah, you know, this is what we think can happen. It's like they have to be really cautious in their predictions about the future.
Yeah, so I was given some odds at some point, and they were the most depressing thing ever. So they talk about things in in sort of terms of 1 year survival and 5 year survival and 10 year survival. And I believe if you make it past the 5 year mark, that's when you are officially classed as being in sort of remission. And as far as they're concerned, like, it should be sort of smooth sailing until it comes back, because apparently if you've had cancer and you're in remission, there's a larger chance of it coming back or something like that than just, you know, like a normal person who hasn't had cancer yet.
Right. Okay.
So lots of nice things to look forward to.
Excellent. Yeah, and those, I mean, in some ways those figures are like 5 years is a long time into the future, given the sort of the current uphill struggle of just, you know, going through the chemotherapy and everything, which for anyone out there, I mean, I guess a lot of people now have sort of people they know who either have or have had cancer, because it's just become sort of a fairly regular thing. So it's something that everyone is affected by. I think, by the way, that's one of the reasons why so many people in the community were sort of willing to, you know, help out, and why it touches people in so many ways, because everyone has at least one and maybe more that are affected by it. But yeah, that's I guess one element of it. So then, what would you say has been like what's been like the biggest change for you in terms of the money that we've already raised? I mean, I think we put the cap at like 20,000 euro or something, and that was more or less just like a number that I decided to put up when we made the GoFundMe page, because I just thought, you know, we'll just set it at something.
Yeah, see where it goes.
Yeah, see where it goes, right? Because like I said, I didn't know what to expect. It's really hard to sort of guess how many people would be interested in this kind of thing. But obviously now we have sort of some of the money, and some of the money has already been transferred to you, which I think is quite smart by GoFundMe. It's a process you really can't interfere with, as in, you know, it's only you that can withdraw the money, as it were.
Yeah. So you don't touch it. There's no scammerinos, as they say.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. It's pretty smart like that, actually, for obvious reasons. That's a good idea.
So earlier this week, as I told you, there was a chap who came around and fitted a bunch of sort of mobility aids. So I've got a bunch of handrails and stuff like that to help me get around the house, because one of the side effects of the chemotherapy drug is that it causes trouble walking. Like, there are days where my legs just won't work at all. It's like, you know, when you have pins and needles and you just can't put any weight on your, you know, whatever limb has the pins and needles. It's like that.
Yeah.
So being able to get around is
that do we know, is that nerve damage, or like what's the reason that sensation happens? Does anyone know?
You know, I honestly have no idea, and I've never actually asked. It's just, you know, a side effect.
Yeah, it's there. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter why. I was just getting myself sidetracked a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can have a quick look, because I know what the drug's called. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's just, you know, a side effect.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they went and installed the sort of the necessary equipment for you to be able to actually move around your own house, right?
Yeah. So I think, excuse me. I think one of the things that a lot of people were confused by is, obviously I'm in the UK and we have the NHS, which pays for everything, which I think is a great system. I know a lot of people sort of on the other side of the Atlantic don't necessarily agree, but in my case, it's obviously a fantastic thing. And under the NHS, you do get certain, you know, obviously your treatment's all free, and there are certain things that they can do that they can either pay for or help to pay for. And in this situation, the sort of mobility stuff that they could subsidize was very sort of low end, very basic. You know, they would give you like a box of handrails that you basically kind of glued to the wall, which,
yeah,
you know, kind of ghetto and not great. Whereas the ones that I've had put in are, you know, they're bolted into the wall. They're much better quality. We've got a handrail out in the garden now, which wouldn't have been possible with the NHS. I have a nice wheelchair. The one that the NHS provide is just this kind of rickety thing that likes to kind of fold up on itself as you're sitting in it and stuff like that. Whereas the one I've got now is it's much more sturdy and much more comfortable to ride around in.
Nice.
What else have I used the money on? Obviously, there's, you know, just living expenses. You know,
yeah.
Phone bill, food. Not that I'm eating a lot right now.
No, that's obviously that's the most commonly known side effect, obviously. Yeah, the living expense part, I think is that was one of the things, because I initially I didn't think so much about the mobility stuff. I really thought about the sort of the absurd situation of being someone who's got to put a lot of effort into going through the chemotherapy and not sort of losing all hope, or just sort of, you know, I guess, I mean, I have to imagine it takes just a lot of energy on any given sort of normal day, right? So if you add to that the stress of saying, okay, well, now there are also bills to pay, and I need to find a way to do that, and that just seems like it should be an unnecessary thing, you know. And in your particular situation, it just wasn't. That was sort of a real concern. So that may sound like, whenever people say bills to pay, it sounds like sort of like, oh yeah, same old, but it's, in this case, I thought it was, you know, just a bit over the top, really.
Yeah, I guess another thing that people kind of keyed in on was the fact that I'm not on any kind of benefits or government assistance, and they find it quite hard to believe that someone in my position is not eligible for such things.
Yeah.
Because I think outside of the UK, there's this perception that we have a very generous welfare state, and we really don't at the moment. It's kind of been decimated. And I have, with this current course of chemo, I haven't even bothered because it's just completely soul destroying to have to go through that. But in the past, I think I've applied 4 times now, and each and every time, they've said, you know, we recognize that you're sick. We just don't think you're that sick that you can't, you know, we're not going to give you anything, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that is like, I mean, obviously that opens up like a whole crazy area of discussion it's always it is in Denmark too, a big sort of topic of contention when people start talking about what people, you know, should pay to sort of support each other and the public and everything.
Yeah.
And it's always the first place that people seem to look for cuts, you know, whenever there are budget cuts in the public sector, it's like, oh, well, gotta get rid of some of the medical stuff. And I guess until you need it, it's maybe people don't think about it so much. But I think the other thing is, even if you did get accepted into it, like if you went through the whole procedure of doing it, and you got accepted, then you'd have to sort of reapply fairly soon after, right?
Yeah, I think it's yearly.
Yeah.
And they can also, because I have a couple of friends who are on, who kind of did manage to make it on, and not only is it, you know, you reapply yearly, but they can also just at any given time they can just decide that, you know, you need to be reassessed. We just want to check and make sure that you're still sick and so on.
Right. Yeah. And sort of given the sort of the unfortunate combination of like asthma and sort of, you know, lung cancer turned to also brain cancer, there just isn't much sort of, you know, extra energy to sort of have to go through that process. Like, it's just that I mean, I actually know that process fairly well in Danish circumstances. I think it can't be much different in the UK, and it is more exhausting than people think, because it does sound really easy to say, oh, well, you know, you're on benefits, that sounds like a blast, you know, but actually for a lot of people, I have some friends in Denmark for different reasons sort of ended up on benefit, and they all hated like everything about it. It was quite a drag to have to sort of, you know, go to your local center and apply and then show up and, you know, prove that, you know, you're in a certain situation and like all these things. It was took a lot of time, you know, and just a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of stress, because obviously you're going to this place where you're talking to someone. They like to say that they're not against you, but they, you know, it's kind of been in the news a lot that they have targets of, you know, people to try and keep off benefits and stuff like that. I don't really know what to believe with regards to that, but you're basically going into a situation where it's almost adversarial, you know, where you're talking to a person who you think is against you immediately, and you're trying to convince you that, yes, I am sick, and, you know, I have all these letters from all these different doctors that I see, and I have a, you know, a medical history that's like 3 phone books tall and so on, and they, you know, they still turn around and say, well, yes, we recognize all this, but we don't think you're that sick.
Yeah. Yeah, you could still find a job somewhere, which obviously, I mean, what they're sort of mandated to do is to try and get people to work instead of being on benefits, which you can, I guess you can understand why that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and I guess somewhere within the UK there is a job that I can do, but they, you know, they're very few and far between. It's not like I can just, you know, look through a paper or on a job website or whatever and say, oh, I can do that job. And the other problem is that I have obviously applied for jobs in the past, and as soon as you say, because obviously, you know, take the cancer out of the equation, there's still the other health issues, and if I say, you know, I might need at least one day, because I don't think that's unrealistic in my situation. If I say to people, I might need at least one day a week off,
yeah.
You know, because, you know, my asthma's so bad that I can't get out of the house or whatever. You know, obviously, no one's going to employ someone like that if you're just saying straight off the bat, well, you know, 20% of my time is going to be taken off.
Yeah, and I mean, so for as long as I've known you, I would say it probably averages out to being like sort of once a week. I mean, some weeks it's 0, and some weeks it'll be, you know, 3 days. So probably on average, it's probably like once a week you'll be in the hospital because you get a chest infection and it won't go away or something like that. I think that probably is close to true. So yeah, it's Yeah, I mean, again, those kind of jobs are pretty rare, right? If you're an employer, you're going to want to have people that you can rely on to show up and be there. I actually think that is not that we have to get like all super political and shit, but I actually think that's one of the things that sort of European social democracies are lacking a little bit, because I think there are going to be Americans out there who disagree with this probably, but my sense is that in American society there's more of a feeling that there's like a collective societal need to make sure that, you know, people who can't work, 10 out of 10 days still have like a place to go where they can do something and stuff like that, you know. Like it feels to me like that might be the case anyway. But I think it's certainly true that in a lot of European countries that is not easy, and it's becoming a problem, you know. You know, we can get you work if you have a lot of experience and you have, you know, and you can work, 37 hours or whatever the average work week is supposed to be, and otherwise we can't. So yeah, I think that's that's certainly part of the challenge anyway. So now we've sort of accomplished part of it with the mobility stuff, right? How much, but sort of in terms of paying the bills and stuff, how much sort of beyond that have we got? Because it was like 10,000 that we raised at this point, and the mobility stuff, how much that cost? Do you remember? Oh, did we lose Skype? Did I lose Skype? Hello? No. Oh yeah, the connection died. Hold on, I'll call Daniel back up again. I wonder how long I've been talking to myself. Just give me a minute, guys.
Hello?
Ah, there we are.
Bloody thing. Yeah, my mic disconnected for some reason during that. Not sure what happened.
Brilliant. But you
I could hear you, yeah. So the mobility stuff was, in total, it's come to just over £4,000.
Right.
So, almost half of it just gone in a day. It was quite scary to do, but, that's what it was there for, but it was still quite scary to part with that much money in one day. And then the wheelchair was $350, I think.
Yeah.
Although I can get part of that back from the NHS, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that helps.
So there's still a few more bits to get. Like I need to get a new. I've needed a new mattress for a really long time, and now that I'm spending more time in bed, it's kind of become more of a necessity than a comfort.
Yeah.
Because my mattress is horrible. It's like it's got a huge dent in the middle of it. It's just the worst thing to lie on. Yeah,
so there are some sort of quality of life issues as well.
Yeah, quality of life. I guess that's a good way to put it. So I'm looking at the the adjustable ones that you get in hospitals where you can raise the back and stuff.
Oh, did you DC or did I? Why is my computer so unstable now? Because it really should not be. Ah, there we go.
Did you lose me again?
Yeah, I don't know, like it bumped. I hope it's not gonna blue screen again, because that's what it did like right before it blue screened the last time, so.
Yeah, technical problems.
Yeah, so weird, isn't it? Because, no, well, right, so yeah, like quality of, just sort of general quality of life things, but I mean, in terms of sort of having a day that's manageable, like if getting through the day, because sometimes when I talk to you, you sort of say, "Oh, it was a real success." I got to the bathroom and I threw up, and now I've had like a little bit to drink and I haven't thrown up, so that's good. Like if that's the day, yeah. But I mean, if that's the day, then having a chair that works and a mattress or a bed that works, these sorts of things become pretty big things, even though they seem like sort of minor details almost,
Yeah, so the way my house is laid out, or, my bedroom and the bathroom, they're like right next to each other. So it's very rare that I actually can't get from one to the other. But but yeah, being able to kind of just fall into bed and it being a nice, comfortable bed is something to look forward to. And I'm looking at those tables so that kind of you wheel them under the bed, and then the table bit is sort of over the bed, and that'll be pretty cool once I've got one of those sorted out.
Yeah, now I can absolutely imagine. And we spoke a bit we'll do an update on this later, but we spoke a bit to a company that produces laptops and shit, and I think they'd be willing to help you out with that too, so that once you're in the bed, you can, not just sort of wait around and not do anything. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know if the doctors say anything about this, but it sort of feels like what causes some people to, I don't want to say give up, because maybe that's like too harsh, but what causes some people to have an even harder time trying to get through chemotherapy is just that they sort of any sort of spark of life that's in them sort of just drains over time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like being able to do things and feel even halfway productive, or even feel like there's something to do, can actually become almost part of the treatment, I would say. That's at least my sort of understanding of it, that it's actually important to keep people connected in some way.
Yeah, so this is going to make me sound really tragic, but I would say most of my friends are on the internet, because I've just been on the internet forever, basically. So being able to, still talk to the people I've been talking to daily for, however many years is quite important. And just being connected to the outside world without actually having to be part of the outside world, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So being able to, right now, I'm obviously okay because I've been on this 6-week break from the chemo, so I've kind of I'm at the point where it's just started to get out of my system, and I have a bit more energy, just in time for it to all start again tomorrow.
Sweet. Yeah, that's why we had to do this today, by the way, because we sort of reckon that next week would not be good. To set.
Yeah, I don't think people want to hear me throwing up.
No, well,
I don't think that would make a good stream.
It would certainly sort of hammer home the point, wouldn't it? It'd be good theater, I guess. So,
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, those are some of the things I think that are, worth for people to listen to. A lot of the people that have already donated will probably be watching this video anyway, just to sort of see, what's been going on and what is actually happening and all that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's definitely cool. Like I said, we're sort of halfway through the overall goal, and if we end up getting all the way then out, it's going to be super impressive and super cool. But it's one of those things where what exactly the remainder of the money is spent on, I guess, scales a bit with how much money is eventually donated, right? Because once we start to hit sort of close to the bottom of it, then you have to put more money aside for paying bills and less money for quality of life improvements, and the other way around too. Like, if people donate more money, then there's more money to spend on upgrading sort of other parts of your life that could make it easier to sort of get through this whole thing, right?
Yeah, well, I guess the mobility stuff that I had fitted last week is the perfect example of that. If I hadn't had the money to do that, I would have had these, sort of freely provided horrible things that you just kind of stuck onto the wall with these sticky pads, and that would have been it. Whereas with this money, I've been able to do it much better, much more in a much more comfortable way. And there's more of it as well. So basically the whole house is mobility friendly now, whereas before it was just my bedroom and the bathroom that they were going to do.
Yeah. So,
yeah, people have said, you have the NHS, why do you need more money? And it's just little things like that I think people don't really appreciate. When you're able to, live your life normally, I don't think you appreciate the amount of stuff that you take for granted until you suddenly are unable to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that is just how most people function, and it would be suck to walk around thinking about too much, but yeah, once you get in touch with that part of the public system, if you live in one of these countries that has such a thing, it's definitely pretty weird, and sometimes you think, wow, I didn't realize that things were necessarily this bad, or that it was, you know, just sort of the absolute bare bones of what was possible, right? So yeah, I hope most people don't have to get into contact with that part of the world, but if you do, then I guess you'll know what we're talking about, or if you already have, then.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is that the NHS is fantastic. My treatment from beginning to end so far has been nothing short of exceptional. It's the kind of the welfare side of things that are lacking, I suppose. You know, the kind of the social safety net, as people call it.
Well, so one thing that really shocked me, and I hope it's okay if we bring this up, is the part that. So the first time they had to do the gamma knife thing, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, your doctors, the ones that actually sort of, you know, are on your cases, and were saying, well, we need to do this gamma knife thing because we think it can really work and it'll help just sort of shrink the tumor that's in your brain, and then we can, you know, the chemo will do the rest.
Yeah.
And there was a concern from higher up that it might not actually be worth sort of paying the money for that.
Oh, right, yeah.
Is that a correct interpretation of sort of, because that really shocked me. I was like, how can that be true, you know?
Yeah, so I think this is where sort of bureaucracy gets in the way, and it becomes kind of a box-ticking exercise. So when cancer spreads from its primary location, which in my case was the lung, when it spreads from its primary location to somewhere further away, that's when it becomes stage 4 cancer. And there's this kind of I guess most people associate stage 4 cancer with terminal cancer, which it's not. Certainly not in my case, or so I'm being told anyway. So I think what happened was they had, you know, opted for this treatment, and someone, you know, some bureaucrat in an office somewhere saw the word stage 4 cancer and just thought, no, this is, you know, it's not worth the money. So yeah, there had to be an appeal, and apparently my doctor made some big impassioned speech, and they were able to go through with it. And it's good that they did, because you know, even though it ended up kind of coming back and growing a little bit more, I did respond to it very well. And I had it a couple of weeks ago again, and once again I'm responding to it very well again, and it's on track to reach that size where it becomes sort of negligible, and hopefully the chemo finishes it, basically.
Yeah, that's what that's obviously the hope now, and what the goal is for the next. That's another 6 months, right? Is that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, for me, that would be the part that would. I think, let's say I had the strength to the first 6 months, which you already did, you know. And then if someone came and told me, by the way, we're gonna have to do 6 more months at a higher rate, you know, of chemo, that's gonna make you even more sick. For me, that would be hard news to get, man. Like, it's so, yeah. I mean, I can understand why. Like, now that I've been able to sort of follow it by proxy in your case, I can understand why people sort of use the term fighting cancer, because, you know, it fucking keeps going, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the worst part for me is like this break right now. Like I said, I'm just starting to kind of level off and start feeling human again. And you know, I'm just starting to feel human in time for the whole chemo thing to start again. Yeah,
well, that's what it felt like. So when you did the first 6 months, I remember we were talking a little bit, and you said you would get it on like Mondays, and then that very day it wasn't so bad, and then it would sort of ramp up through like Tuesday and Wednesday, and then it would sort of it would take off again towards the weekend, just in time for you to get it again on Monday. So you would have like a little holiday, like somewhere towards Sunday or something. You'd be like, all right, now things are a bit better. Like that also seems like a really stupid rhythm, you know. It's like, can it just be like one or the other, you know? Like, it's almost like that off and on thing is pretty grueling as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite as binary as that, like on and off, but it was more like there would be some mornings you would wake up and it would be like having just like a very mild flu, and it would be like, oh, today's not going to be too bad. And then there'd be some days where you'd wake up and with sort of this blinding headache, and it's like, oh God, I can't move. Everything's going to explode or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, good and bad days, but as the week progresses and it kind of becomes further away from my last dosage date, it's like, okay, things are just starting to get back to normal.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, here's another dose for you. But this is going to be, so the way it's going to work now is 3 weeks and then 1 week off. So chemo, then a week off. Then chemo, and then a week off. So that's going to repeat 6 times, so basically 6 months.
Right.
So yeah. I don't think there's going to be much of a chance for it to kind of level out this time. I think it's just going to suck all the way throughout.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to put it, which is also why I think, you know, having all these little things around it that sort of that make life more manageable suddenly becomes important and sort of makes a difference. So.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess maybe some people would disagree with this, but one of the things that I spent some money on was a Nintendo Switch, which is just a nice little portable thing that I can take to the hospital with me. And, you know, that's just a great little thing to take my mind off stuff. Yeah. To just play some Mario Kart or some Zelda or something.
Well, I imagine, I mean, so most of the people watching this, well, I guess all of the people who are going to be watching this are like, you know, gamers, as it were. So I think most people can actually probably relate to that.
Yeah.
Whenever I've been in the hospital for different reasons, if ever I'm there for like any extended amount of time, like even, I mean, I'm talking about like no time at all, but even if I'm there for like 6 hours or something, you know, I start to sort of think, oh man, if only I had, you know, like a tablet or, you know, laptop.
Yeah, tablet or,
you know,
yeah,
anything, you know. So yeah, if you're sort of permanently, or at least sort of, like, you know, for months at a time, you know, you're forced to spend most of your time either in a hospital or in a bed, then yeah, I think that's and again, you know, I think people underestimate this, but the state of mind becomes part of the sort of the treatment and the chances to sort of survive the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because once, I imagine if you add sort of, you know, crippling depression to the whole thing, it's not going to help you improve at all, right? Like there's got to be a way to sort of stay mentally sound as possible anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite well established, isn't it, that your state of mind can directly impact how well you recover from various things. Yeah.
Is there anything that we have not covered that we should cover? I'm trying to think, sort of search my mind for is there anything that you wanted to talk about? Because I've just been talking about things that came to my mind.
No, I mean, I guess the thing I would want to say is just thank you to everyone who has donated so far. You know, there have been some insanely generous people, and there have been some people who have figured out my Steam account as well and have added me and, you know, chatted to me about stuff, and that's been really cool as well. Are we allowed to pimp my skin?
We can.
Is that too much?
No, we can do that. Yeah, that was. I think I actually thought about that as well. I'll find a link. One sec. I'm so bad at finding the Steam Workshop. Somehow finding the Steam Workshop is the hardest thing in the world. But yeah, you actually made one of the skins that we're sort of promoting. Mm-hmm. And my files, I will find it right now so people can go and check it out. I'll leave a link in the description of the YouTube thing once we stitch the whole thing together. Okay. So basically, yeah, this is the skin that Daniel made, because you love all things orange for some god-forsaken reason.
There is nothing wrong with the color orange. You're just racist.
I just don't understand it, but this skin does look really cool. I made an exception in my mind and added this. But yeah, this is the skin that you made that people can go and check out, and we've got plans to make some other ones, right? Eventually, when you know there's time and space for it. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, I'll put that in the link or in the chat. People can go check it out as well on YouTube if they're watching it from there.
Okay.
And as well with the donation link, like the donation link will be at the bottom of the video somewhere as well, so people can donate. It's still going on, and I just noticed while we've been talking, a couple of people have donated, so that's really cool.
Oh, that's very awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like I think it's. I mean, we've seen this lately with sort of different, and there's definitely like I think everyone knows the stupid side of the gaming community, and maybe especially the Twitch community. Like, you know, whenever people get like, you know, harassed online, or people just have like unfortunate experiences, but there are definitely some pretty cool sides of it too. Obviously, there was the whole gathering around Loop, right? Did you see this? The guy that has like really heavy visual impairment.
Yeah, I did see that.
So stuff like that is really awesome. I would tout this as another example of a cool example where the community will come together and help out. I think that's amazing. So
yeah, I think that's what surprised me was I'm a sort of a nobody, sort of in the the gaming community. I just happen to have known you, unfortunately, for a very long time.
Yeah, it's only paid off in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, I had to put up with years of bullshit, but it's finally paid off.
That's accurate.
So so I didn't expect it to take off quite as much as it did, because I'm not anybody in esports or anyone of any note. So it's been quite cool that people have got involved the way they have. So yeah, thank you to everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, for my behalf too, as well, I'm super excited that so many people are in on it. So thank you for me too. I'm glad that people have taken so well to the whole campaign and people have been so friendly about it. I guess we'll do another video at some point when we get further in. Like I said, we've got like a laptop thing going on, so we'll do an update about that once we get that far in. And I mean, people have shown an interest in sort of knowing what's happening, so we wanted to do this and explain it as best we could. Yeah. Anything that we've left out or forgotten? If not, we'll pick up on another time. But.
You can look at my Instagram if you want to see my dog.
That's
I think that's it.
Your dog is mentally ill. It should be said from the beginning, but so
I will link you so you can paste it, because I'm not logged into Twitch right now.
This is a good point. Yeah, I'll link that. I'll put that in the chat as well. You're absolutely mentally ill, but also entertaining at the same time.
Yes.
Right. Well, that's perfect, man. I will. I'll put this on YouTube and stitch the parts of your tech issues together as best as I can. And we'll see what happens. We'll obviously leave a link to the donation and to the skin, to the Instagram. And thanks to everyone who's already been involved. Hope this update was sort of somewhat coherent, and then we'll be back with more in the future for sure. So thank you for that for now. And thanks to you, Daniel, as well for joining and hanging out with me for a little bit before I go and play Counter-Strike a bit.
Okay, remember to try and throw your grenades a bit better tonight, please.
I make no such promises at all. It's probably not going to happen, but I'll try my best, man. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, everybody, and I will talk to you later, Anders. Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Yeah, that was Daniel. Like I said,